Today we're talking about the Pokemon timeline, but not the cool Pokemon timeline, not the one that Bertie Toby talked about. Nah, today we're talking about the game release timeline and when Pokemon Legends Z-A is likely going to be a part of it. So hey, I'm not so ace trainer, and when is it coming out? Let's get into it. I and everyone else have talked about when we think the new Pokemon Legends game is gonna be released, and I think that a big chunk of the community is expecting the game midway through the year, while another big part of the community expects the game to come out when we usually get a Pokemon game, so around November. Some people even believed that the game would come out in like May or something, but I think that one is completely out of question. Even before we got to right now, without a single trailer during the whole year, they would basically have to shadow drop the title, which would be just very strange, or just bombard us with trailers every week, which we know they simply do not do. They kinda like to keep us waiting for months and more months every single year. I mean, we all know the pain that is waiting for that June trailer after only getting something at Pokemon Day in February. And we all know that after that, we only get something at Pokemon Worlds, so we are always waiting. People that believe that likely expected Pokemon news in like January or December, but that was always a little bit too much wishful thinking. They have a special day for the big ones, and that day is approaching us quite fast. Kinda like I believe you are approaching the like and subscribe button quite fast as well, or at least I hope you are. But yeah, Pokemon Day is right around the corner and that's when we're finally gonna get the release date. But there's another thing happening that might start narrowing down the possibilities even further. Before I talk about it though, when do you think Pokemon Legends Z-A is gonna be released? Let me know in the comments down below. So, a few weeks ago, we finally got the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2, but, well, it was just that. We now know what it looks like, but we don't really know anything else about it. I mean, they promised to reveal it by the end of March, and well, it's done. But they really gave us the bare minimum. That reveal came with another reveal though. There are gonna be some previews of this new console all around the world for people to try it out, presumably before it is released to the public. The last one of these previews happened in Seoul in South Korea and it ends on June 1st. They still need to announce the Hong Kong and Taipei ones, but I believe they likely won't stray too far from the Seoul one. This means that around the beginning of June, Nintendo is probably gonna be done with all of the Nintendo Switch 2 previews and ready to start the next stage of the new console cycle. And you're probably saying, why is this guy talking about the Nintendo Switch 2? I thought this was a video about Pokemon Legends Z-A release date. And well, I'm talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 because I really do believe that one of the reasons for the delay of Z-A was because of it. I think they wanted a Pokemon game with mass appeal to be released after or around the time of the console's release. While a regular Pokemon game appeals mostly to Pokemon fans as it keeps the core aspects of the series very much alive, it's clear that Legends Arceus came out with another audience in mind. It was, with a lack of a better word, for the general gamers. It introduced a more active playstyle with action-based battles and catching, despite still having the turn-based combat. I think Pokemon Legends Z-A is very likely going to come out with the same idea in mind, and considering how it will appeal to both Pokemon fans and more general gamers, what better time for it to come out than when a new console is released? What better time for it to come out than when you really want to sell hardware and you have a secret software weapon that constantly sells insane amounts, be it with a 2-version release or, as Pokemon Legends Arceus proved, with a single version release. Sure, the game is gonna come out for the OG Switch and be playable there, but we all know that the better experience is gonna be on the Nintendo Switch 2. Things will run smoother, the load times will be shorter. I mean, the game was developed for the older console, so the new one will just make it better. There will be people buying it just because of that. And we're not going through the pandemic anymore. There's not going to be a shortage of consoles like it happened with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. We're probably going to get a lot of them. They will be waiting for your sweet gamer money right there. So, with that in mind, I don't believe the game will release until the Nintendo Switch 2 is released. And I don't believe the Nintendo Switch 2 is gonna release until they're done with all of the previews. This means that the game will not release until June 1st. This part was expected already, like I said. The only people that thought otherwise believed that there would be news in December or January, but this leaves us with the second half of the year as a possibility. November is still the most likely month, but there's always a chance that Pokemon does something different. I mean, there was no game last year, and we didn't think that was even a possibility when it came to modern Pokemon, so who knows what else they could pull out of their bag of tricks. A lot of us thought, no game? Then surely they will release the classic Pokemon titles on the NSO service to give us Pokemon during the holiday season. I mean, they always release games at such a fast rate, almost as if they're afraid we're gonna forget about Pikachu or something. But what did they do? Absolutely nothing. They kept quiet and posted quirky things on social media and nothing else. Like I said, November is indeed the most likely month, but it isn't the only possibility in any way. Historically speaking, September to December are always the best months. I mean, they're close enough to the holidays and people are in that money spending mood. But we've seen January releases for Legends Arceus or even the OG release of Fire Red and Leaf Green. And above all, we've seen quite a few mid-year releases for Pokemon games as well. Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 released originally in Japan in June, and we saw all kinds of April, May and July releases for Gen 3 and Gen 4 games in the US, Europe and Australia. As you can see, we don't even have to make updates as they've tried it all, and between you and I think that whatever date Pokemon releases in will grant them record sales. It's just the way it is, a very well-oiled machine that has a very large die-hard fanbase like you and I. Not only that, as we can see from their sales updates, the games keep on selling through the year despite the boom being around their release time. Pokemon simply cannot fail, and gap years, controversial releases, and even incredibly short intervals between titles are absolutely the proof of that. Patterns are out of the window. We thought we knew how Pokemon operated, but we have recently found out that we actually know nothing. While my logic tells me that Pokemon will release this game in November, I think there's a strong possibility that the game is released in late June or early July. Until June or most of June, I don't think there's a chance at all, but after that, who knows really? Like I mentioned in my previous video, we could be looking at a very short window between releases like we saw with Legends Arceus and BDSP, Z-A now and then just a little bit later, Unova stuff. Like I said, logic is on the safe side, but instinct, gut, that thing is pointing straight to the midpoint of 2025. But you know, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, a special thank you to YouTube members, Dash Plays, and Twitch subscribers, and Newbies Here and Lazarix for going that extra mile. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much.